Hey guys, it's Sam, and today we're going to talk about how the NCLE is actually an easier examination than the ABO. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but when you statistically look at the numbers, we'll see how it's actually not as difficult as a lot of people will put the test out to be. So perception is everything, and I think a lot of times, because opticians will work with eyeglasses on a day-to-day basis, and maybe we don't spend as much time with contact lenses, that a lot of times we will perceive the NCLE examination as some insurmountable test that's just too difficult, when in reality, again, when we look at the numbers, we'll see that the NCLE exam is actually statistically just a little bit easier than the ABO exam. The first point in all this is that mathematics. So everyone always thinks, oh, the math on the NCLE is going to be so difficult, vertex distance, and SAM and FAP, and steeper add minus, flatter add plus, and LARS, left add, right subtract. But in reality, the math on the NCLE is much more simple. As you can see with those quick examples, you're adding just like, a half a diopter to a diopter. It's not very invasive math. It's a lot to memorize as far as steps sometimes, but it's not difficult. When on the other side of things, the ABO, you have, Prentice's rule, Snell's law, vertical and horizontal decentration, thin lens formula. There's just a lot more math on the ABO. And also you have vertex distance on there as well. So when we compare the two, the NCLE is a lot more of just facts, just memorizing facts, than you would say for the ABO. Now, a big part of this, which I really try and highlight in these videos, is the theory. Because if you can get the theory down with the NCLE, like what's the cornea, what are K readings, what is astigmatism, those types of concepts, then you'll do awesome on the NCLE. But the reality, again, is the ABO is geared a lot, there's a lot more mathematics on the test. I know a lot of people shy away from having to do, arithmetic, but it really, the NCLE doesn't present very many instances for math. You will have to, do vertex distance over 4 diopters, and you'll have to, add or subtract a half a diopter for K readings and that type of thing. But again, not super difficult math that you'll find on the NCLE. So the next point is that there are 3 times as many ABO certified opticians as there are NCLE certified opticians. So these numbers come from their website. Around 2017, there were somewhere around 30,000 ABO certified opticians. And we compare that to about 11,000 NCLE certified opticians. So, a lot of this, people are apprehensive to take the NCLE, but again, it's really, as we'll see here shortly, not more difficult than the ABO, and truly, actually, from a numbers perspective, actually a little bit easier, you could say, than the ABO examination. And I guess we'll get right into that, because in 2019, the statistical pass rate for the ABO examination was 58%. So in the same year, the statistical pass rate for the NCLE examination was 60%. So there's a 2% difference in there. So, to break that down, out of every 100 people who took the ABO, 58 people would pass. Out of 100 people who took the NCLE, 60 people would pass. So again, you take that fact and you highlight it against the fact, that people are always stating how difficult the NCLE test is, and it really, makes you think, well, maybe it isn't any more difficult. It's just our focus sometimes, perception, and we just hear that, and we tend to believe it if you hear it enough. But again, the NCLE is very fact-based. It's very procedural-based. Do this, then this. This is the proper wear schedule. Surfactants do this in a lens cleaner. PMMA is polymethyl methacrylate. Very fact-based test. But you must understand the theory too. So back in 2003, me and my brother were going through Rome State Community College's optician program, and that's in Harriman, Tennessee. And at the end of the first year, everyone took their ABO test. And back then, way back then, you had to actually go to a facility. In this case, we had to go to the state capitol in Nashville, and it was a 3-hour drive. Me and my brother were talking, we're like, we haven't really had much contact lens instruction yet, but we'd really like to just knock both these tests out. So we both decided, like, let's go ahead and just take both the tests, drive down to Nashville once, and we did. And surprisingly, we both did better on our NCLE than we did on our ABO test. And that brings me to my next point, which is really important, is that the ABO and the NCLE, there's a lot of crossover material between the two. And I really think one of the most effective things to do is to, while you're still hot off the presses, so to say, from studying for your ABO, to go ahead and take a run at the NCLE. Because you have things like anatomy and physiology, different eye disorders, refractive states, optics in general, a lot of crossover between the two exams that preparing for your ABO is surely going to help with the NCLE. I mean, even the question, what are the 5 layers of the cornea from anterior to posterior? Epithelium, Bowman, stroma, decimus, endothelium. That's the type of question you'll literally see likely on both exams. So don't separate the two too much, and really, if you're studying for one, if you're putting the energy into the ABO, of course give yourself a little break. That's always a good idea, but don't exacerbate that. Don't make it like such a long break where you're really gonna have to revisit a lot of the same topics as you're cramming for these tests, right? Because as an optician, we have a working knowledge of adjusting glasses and using a lensometer, but even for the ABO, that's such a small part of the test. You have to understand the theory, and much like the NCLE, you have to understand the theory. So as you're studying for those, you want to harness that power together and just really use that momentum to take care of both those exams while you're at it. So statistically, 6 out of every 10 individuals who take the NCLE examination are going to pass. And really, it's just, to me, that says, are you going to be one of the 6 that pass, or are you going to be one of in the minority, the 4 that didn't study hard enough, said, oh, I don't need to look at that, just going that extra mile, looking at something one more time, taking 20, 30 minutes a night, and just, all you want to do is watch Netflix or whatever, but just getting your book out and just going over some questions and answers, that's going to be the difference. That's going to put you in the 6 as opposed to the 40% that just may not pass. So really put the effort in. But this video is more of just encouraging you to say, if you're struggling with the NCLE, or if you've taken it before and you've not passed, just know that it's a very obtainable goal to pass this test. And if you put the effort in, you will achieve that. So I'd really love to hear in the comments, just let me know, has anyone ever told you that the NCLE is more difficult than the ABO? And now you have a retort for them, and you could say, well, actually, 60% are going to pass the NCLE, where 58% pass the ABO. And of course, those numbers will vary some, and it's probably pretty equal. But you definitely can't say for certain that the NCLE is more difficult, because when you look at the numbers, it actually shows something different. Please like the video, share it with your optician nerd friends and such. And I just, love to be able to get out and educate on these things and just provide a means for people to get a school type education, a lecture type education on these topics that they may not be able to receive. Not everyone is the best at, grabbing a textbook and reading through it and retaining information. So that's the purpose of the videos. So again, I appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.